So welcome everyone back to Pommy and Oz. I hope we're all doing really well. Thank you very much for joining me. If you are new around here, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. It is absolutely awesome that you are so supportive. We're just about to hit 1300, which would be grouse if we could do that this month. Beyond my goals, and I can't thank you all enough. If you are a returner, a returning Pommy and Ozzer, good day to you. I hope you're doing really well, and I hope you're enjoying Italia's win today, because I know most of you are Italian origin and have an affinity with them. So Forza Italia, well done to you guys. Now what we're going to do is we're going to recap the Carlton Geelong game, and 26 points we went down, and it's tough to analyse because I thought, how do we do this? Because I thought that game was a lot worse than a lot of people have thought. And I'm going to try and set that right. So I asked you all on Blue Abroad's group to give me two players. And I've kind of changed it up. I've done the two players that were top, and then I've done two other people. And let's get into it. So straight away, let's just talk a little bit about the game. Now, from my perspective, and I want to show you this footage here as I'm talking, you'll see first, this is Geelong, and you can see the movement when they turn the ball over is impeccable. They really work hard for each other. There's lots of short options. We talked about it in the preview, and those who went on the Blue Abroad website and saw my scouting report of what they look to do. They look to transition the ball into the corridor, then back out. They really open the space down the left-hand side, and it is effective. And how they do that, and how they get so much uncontested marks, and how they defend transition so well. And just to put that into perspective, when we talk about transition, we conceded 50 points from transition and from transition intercepts. We scored 7. And if you look at the numbers, 8 to 64 turnovers in their favour, doesn't quite add up, does it? And that is huge in scores in turnover. And how they do that is their ability to move. They move off the ball so well. It's interesting to note that Carlton in the first quarter had at least one person running towards the ball carrier 80% of the time. After that, it drops down to 20 with a low of 7% in the fourth. And that's a structural thing. It's okay when we talk about the kicking efficiency and stuff, but the cold hard facts are they managed to find targets without any pressure. We're always kicking to pressure. And you can see in the Carlton example here, players are naturally running away from the ball carrier, encouraging that kick long. And as you can see, it's dealt with quite easy by Geelong. You're playing into their game hands. They love to set up behind the ball. They have so much hard running in both avenues of the field, which allows them to be so strong and to control possession. And it's really interesting because we'll get onto it, but Teague touches on this in the game. He said that it wasn't the kicking at goal that killed us. He thought Geelong controlled the game from the second and third quarter. Aside, they controlled the footy, and how they do that is because of their movement. It's really important when you play a kicking game, which is the tactic, that you play short. Now, why are players running? Because that happened predominantly from about the 17-minute mark of the first quarter. And it's hard to say, but that is definitely an instruction. It's okay when people say that the coach doesn't play for them, but the players are playing on the coach's instructions. Now, if you are always going to get the anomalies, you're always going to get one or two players not following the structure. That's the nature of the beast. At work, you'll have some guys and girls that don't follow the guidelines. And that's just human nature. People find their own way of doing things. But when you've got 22 men doing the same thing, and there's numerous examples of this, just to save time in this video, I picked one that was glaring to me around the same minute mark. So you can see, but you go back and watch it, you'll see thousands of examples. Nearly every time Carlton have a possession in the second. And then you go back to the first when it worked. You have players actively running towards the ball carrier alongside him, giving him options, the shorter option. And that is how you play a kicking game. You don't kick it long, you kick it short, and you kick it into space, the easy kicks. And you look at what Geelong did. They just hit easy kicks, and they outran us. And there's many a time, particularly in the fourth, you see it as the legs tire. They're running in numbers And players aren't even tracking them. They're staying back. Now, my opinion is that, and I'm going to be forthright on this, is that I think Carlton's set up to not lose by 40. Because it is something that is uncannily mentioned at times by this club that we haven't lost by 40. We haven't had blowouts. Now, there is no, and I am telling you, there is no train of thought that when you continually lose to sides, just being close is a mark of improvement. And Teague has said it again, and he overuses the phrase if you listen to the press conference, and we'll get onto that. We need to get better. And I'm telling you, you might have been harsh on Teague, and I'm not, because I genuinely do like the bloke. But what I don't like about it is we're not getting better. Like, it's okay people saying that, the kicking and the coach doesn't kick for him. But as we'll come on to in his press conference, he explains why he thinks the kicking's poor. They were 35.7% efficient inside 50, which shows our defence is working overtime. 56 inside 50s. There is no stat here that says we deserve to win that game. Just in the first quarter, we dominated. 78% of the time in the first quarter was spent in their D50. And we didn't take chances. And when you don't apply scoreboard pressure and you don't have any pressure in the midfield, because there is so much, the spread is so great. That's not on the players. That's because the spread is so great. Once we get the ball, players bomb forward. They're looking to really flood inside 50. That is the game plan. And what that does is when that ball's turned over, there is literally no one in the midfield. You've got the defence where the midfield are. They're having to run back. The forwards and the midfielders become clustered. If you get it out of that area, which they're very efficient at doing, because as we showed in the preview, that is how they build. It's so easy. And when you're playing the extra man on the ball like they do, and then they play the loose down the back, they interchange that. They did that in the second. They started to gain ascendancy, and then the loose man started to go in the third, and then the loose man goes down the back in the fourth to kill the game off. We played our loose man at the back all game. All game. Even when we were gaining ascendancy, he was behind the ball. And that's not a side that is looking to be aggressive. And that, I think Teague hit it on the head when he said that pressure builds up on the kicks when you miss them. Pressure builds up because there's no pressure on the field. Defensively, them 6 points are worth 12 psychologically. Because if you don't have that lead, it's so easy to break. It's so easy to break. Now, for me, that performance just shows what happens. When we come against a team with structure, when we come against a team with a game plan, a team that's got will and intent, I'm not questioning their effort. Because if your system is flawed, doesn't matter how much effort you put in. We are relying on individual performances where they didn't. They relied on a structure that works. Now, we'll cover it a bit more as we move on, but let's get into these things. So here we are. The first slide we're going to look at today is none other than Will Setterfield. Now, Will Setterfield was mentioned a lot, and you can see here in his heat map, let's look at it. Time on the ground, 78%. 10 disposals, 2 tackles, 70% efficiency, 9 pressure acts. It's a bit of a nothing game, isn't it? Let's be honest. If we look at this here, you can see he's playing that defensive wing. He was quite often invariably that extra behind the ball when we went into an offensive set. It's not working. And he's ironic because when he was drafted by GWS, he was known as a half-forward wing who can floatate through the ball. So he is playing the position he's drafted for. And ironically, he's horrendous at it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can see here as well how slow the ball movement is. Going back, in them 3 that he went back, only one of them was played on quickly. It's slow. That is a man there that he's setting up to be that tall target down at the wing. It's not a great... I didn't enjoy Will Setterfield's game at all. And I thought that when you look at the numbers, this is a side that traditionally does its best work around the stoppages. We actually won the stoppages. They dominated the ball out of the centre. And I would have thought an extra big body like Setterfield at some point would have been thrown into it. And he wasn't. And he looks lost out there. He had no form coming into it. Teague at the start of the year said that selection integrity was a big thing this year. Explain to me Setterfield then. Like, I'm not being harsh. I'm trying to be realistic here, and I don't want people to think I'm bagging. I'm critiquing because it can be done better, and these are things that are simple fixes. Leading towards the ball, running towards the ball carrier, giving it options. Watch that third quarter. Nearly every possession, people run into a position and just stand still. Stand still. And that's not on the players. Like, you can't honestly believe, and I would say you're very naive if you believe 22 players are doing that just out of choice. Because there'd be some anomalies if there was a rebellion. There'd be some anomalies. That's structure, man. He said at the start of the game we were going to play fast and attack and be counterintuitive. We were the opposite. Like, we literally set up that kick back down the line. You won't find many teams do it unless they're in trouble. So we were in trouble effectively when we were dominating at 78% inside 50s. It's mind-boggling. The next guy we're going to look at, then Jack Martin. Now you can see here, look, how many are behind the ball for a guy that's meant to be an offensive player. So bear that in mind, that's what he's got him for. He's meant to be playing a little bit in the midfield and floating across half forward. All these touches are nearly behind the ball. 82% of time on the ground, 10 disposals, 1 tackle, 90% efficiency, 11 pressure acts, 6 attempted tackles, only 1 got through. And you can see some of the turnovers are them corridor balls. That turnover, the corridor ball, that actually nearly resulted in a goal. It was a great bit of defensive work that stopped it. But again, real guilty of, particularly in the third and the fourth, of this kid getting the ball and stopping. And that has to be, like, I can't drum this theory home. That has to be an actual instruction. I don't care what Teague says. Something is getting confused. Now, whether it's the line coaches or Teague or whatever it is, something is instructed to wait until players are in place. And that is a safety. That is a safety mechanism. You've got to remember, Teague has been there now 2.5 years, nearly 3. And he's been around the club for longer than that. If they're not getting it now, when do you think you're going to get it? Because I hear this wait. We've waited quite a fucking long time, I think. If they're not getting it, something needs to change. Either the structure, the personnel, the coaching, something needs to change. But Martin's the kind of guy that can beat Geelong. Now, if he's not fit, he's not fit, right? But that he's not. His lack of fitness doesn't account for what he had to kick to. Martin's better getting the ball back, and ironically, the inside 50 that created a goal-scoring shot, was a 1-2, so he could run onto it. It was a brilliant kick inside 50 as well. And it was a shithouse game, wasn't it, for Martin? Let's be honest, it was poor. It was poor. And I'm trying not to blame the players so much, because literally when they're structured to go like that, there's not much you can do. There's not much you can do. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's like watching Sam Allardyce's Bolton in the noughties and asking why they're not playing tiki-taka. Like, they're not instructed to. What do you want them to? Who fit long? It's the plan. Now, the third thing that got quite a lot of votes, and these were added, was Teague's press conference. So I thought, let's look at Teague and what he said this week. And I don't want to back him, but let's just look at him, right? So one of the things he said was quick ball movement. Now, if you look at the team's heat map, well, I'm putting up now, look from halfway to 50, there is no conduit almost, no touches in that conduit. That's a hot zone. That's one of the biggest hot zones in the AFL, where your entries are inside 50. And generally them fast teams look for that link up there and hit up. You saw Geelong master that. They played with us on outside 50. We were the opposite of quick. We had about 18 minutes of quick footy. 80 minutes of quick footy. And we never looked like winning after the first quarter. We never looked like they did what we said they'd do in the preview, that they would control the footy. He said, we don't trust our system to step off in defensive sets. The system's been around for 2.5 years. In fact, this system defensively hasn't changed dramatically since Bolts. Hasn't changed. So some of these players have been playing a very similar system in 5. The only difference is we kick it more. Now, the reason that they're not stepping off is because the midfield offers no pressure. The forward line offers no pressure. And that's partly down to the players, I'll give them that, and its intent. But it's partly because they are instructed to move so far away from the ball carrier and flood 50. So when the ball turns over, and invariably it turns over because the kicks land short, they're having to run backwards. They're behind their man straight away. The defence holds up because it has so much practice. When you're playing a loose in the back, you need the midfield pressure to be good. You need the forward pressure to be good. It's suicide. It's why I suggested playing the loose in midfield. Bring it there. Bring a bit of intensity. He said he wanted to get it quick and get 1-on-1s. That was the game plan. He said that in the post-game. Watch from the second. It's banter. It's banter. It's the slowest movement you'll see. It's the slowest movement you see. So that's what he wants to do. Now, that could be the players. I mean, I could have totally missed the mark, and 22 players are totally disrespecting the coach. And if that's the case, now if 22 players are doing that, I'm questioning why they're playing for the club. If 22 players are actively disregarding what the coach is saying, that's fair enough, but they shouldn't be there. I don't think that's the case, though. I think we're not getting the full truth, because something's either been drastically lost in translation, or someone's not telling the truth. And I think it's the latter, because everyone's saying they want the ball to move quickly, so say it. But you're not seeing what they're saying. Like I say, 50-7 on intercepts, and you look at them intercept goals, the players aren't in position to defend that turnover. One thing that Geelong do really well is because they move the ball up gradually. Everyone moves up. When the ball is turned over, there is always 2 clear lines of defence. On ours, there's 2 clear lines of defence. In the back line, nothing in the midfield. Maybe 1 or 2 players. You see all the runners overflood the corridor because them players are too far forward, because the setup is long ball movement. It's mental. It's mental. And I love Teague as a person. I'm sure he's a great guy, and I'm sure if we had a beer together, he'd be a top guy, right? Top guy. The other thing that was in the thing, which I find quite concerning, is that the supporters need looking at because they don't support the club. Crazy to me. So when this rebuild started, we had 50,202 people, right, as members. The year after, we had 50,557. Now, 2018, the worst year, 2 wins, the worst year we've had in recent memory. 56,005 people signed up for the club, right? 2019, COVID started to come late in the year, but we had 64,000. We set a club record in 2018, we broke it the year after. 2020, COVID decimated Melbourne. Decimated Australia, and eventually it spread like wildfire. We had the worst year. Limited crowds, no one could go. We had we had top 5 best retention in the AFL. 67,035 people signed up. All right? Top 5 best retention. We were 5th on the AFL membership total, right? For a team that was outside the 8 announcing success. This year, we have signed up in record numbers. 81,012 people have signed up. Now, I know some of them are them free memberships and the incentives that the club did, but 81,012. So since 2018, the year where there was 0 hub and we had 56,000, we have gained nearly half that back on top of it. 25,000 more people have signed up. 25,000 people have signed up. Let that sink in. You're saying the club's not supported. Saying that the club's not supported. It's mind-boggling. Say people can't be upset when they don't win. It's mind-boggling. It's been going on for a while. And it's not just Carlton that do this. Every other fan base does. Right? Every other fan base does. But it's passion. It's love. You can't question the commitment of fans. Because supporter doesn't mean your blind faith. Supporter means that you love something. You support it. Your dad supports you, but doesn't your dad tell you off? Doesn't your ma tell you off? Like, I was 25 when my pop died, so that was the last time I had parents. And he told me off still to that day. Do you know what I mean? He up until the day he died, I'd still get a bollocking if I did something wrong. And it's because he loved me. It's not because he hated me. It's not because I didn't go, you're not my real dad. I mean, I was adopted by him, but I didn't go, you're not my real dad. No, you don't love me. Didn't do that. I knew it was because he cared about my well-being. Like, it's mindless. If it's not racist, it's not a personal attack. It's fine, because if you celebrate the wins passionately, you've got to analyse the losses badly. Like, we're arguing amongst ourselves, and I do it sometimes because I get frustrated by what I consider like just blind faith. And I'm sorry I do. It's just I want us to get better, man. And to say you're not a real fan because you want to win, you want to improve. The whole definition of life is improving. If you don't improve, in my opinion, if you don't improve in life as a human being, as anything, whether it's baking a cake and you don't look to make that cake better, and you just rest on your laurels because you can't do something, then you give up and you just go and buy a cake, I consider that being a failure as a human being. And that's just a micro scale. Like, I'd be disappointed if my kids never reached their potential. I would be. And I'd be even more disappointed if I didn't push them and didn't be brave to be critical. Because sometimes it takes balls to be critical. You have no idea how hard it is doing this sometimes, and knowing that I'm going to get inboxes full of hate and shit like that. And I'm a pretty tough guy. You know, honestly, I couldn't give a shit sometimes. Because my opinion is, if you're faceless and you PM me some abuse, you're soft as shit. Because that's why people do it. That's why they don't put the face on it. And I'm putting my face here and I'm owning my words. But there's getting behind the club, and there's getting behind the club and trying to help, man, and trying to just rationalise what we're seeing. 81,000 people have signed up. 81,000 for a game plan that's set up to fail. And if you can't see that, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you, but after this stage, are you happy that good sides beat us easy? That was a controlled game by Geelong. The AFL doesn't respect us. Clubs now are coming out and taking the piss. They rested Selwood, right? A team that we're actually better around the centre clearances than them. They rested Selwood, who's their top clearance player. Like, if that's not a show of respect, lack of respect, I don't know what is. 81,000, let that sink in, 81,000 people. Like, if they don't think they're loved and supported, mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Like, I don't blame people who left halfway through the third and the fourth, because it is heartbreaking to watch. And, you know, part of me is sad that I'm not there, but I made an agreement to support the interstate guys and be someone to watch with, because I know how sad it is sometimes when people I go with have been ill and can't go to the games every week. And it's a lonely thing. So I try and do my bit. I do it because I want to do my bit. And yeah, this is a low place for us to be. And I can't impassionately plea. I'm not going to swear and get angry. But if we can't get around each other and we can't be honest that we want to win, it's destined to fail. It's destined to fail. And whether Teague's the man to take us for the job, you know I don't think he is. If he is, let's get some structure going then. Let's get some structure, because this game plan ain't going to win. If we're kicking it long, that's not going to be. It's a simple fix, because 17 other teams do it and we don't. Go back and watch every game this week like I have to for this. And you'll see the patterns are alarming. And it's a simple fix. It's a simple fix because The are elements getting better. Power's got the midfield really contesting well when the ball's there. It's when the ball's not there is the issue. And that's not so much on Luke Power. Even though he is part of transition now, it's the ball movement. The whole structure is not allowing for it. And until we start running for each other and doing the basics and picking players that are fit, because another thing that Teague said was interesting, we hope Casbolt would get up. He's had the knee. He's had the knee. The knee was mentioned round 3. Like, we're waiting for that. 2 tall players went down. Like, Jones, you can argue it was back randomly, right? But you're telling me that no one thought of putting a tall guy in there? Sydney Stack, he was a late caller passed by the AFL rules. I don't quite understand what's going on. And in summary, because this video's gone on a bit long, doesn't look good. Doesn't look good because it's structure. Structure there. Structure is the way they move the ball. And it's so easy to beat and it's so one-dimensional. We dust ourselves down because we can't stay sad too long. We've got them pricks at Collingwood next week. Stay tuned to the Blue Abroad. I will be doing the live watch along with Swoop Luke. Got some special things for Swoop Luke coming up as well. Blue Abroad, I'll do this scout preview as well for you that you really enjoyed. And I'll look forward to doing a preview for you guys here on Girls and Blue. I'll look forward to doing a preview as well for you guys and girls on Pommy and Oz. Much love. Thank you for all the love messages as well this week. You could see I was a bit down on fan cams. Go Blues. Pom out.